Well, good morning, Delaware. We made it in this morning. We hope you got where you needed to go as well, despite all of the cold and
all of
snow
the cold.
and
It's going to get
everything.
warmer, though. It's going to get warmer. They said it's going to get warmer.
Okay, Molly has been doing the battling meteorologist.
They keep
this
saying
week.
it's going to get warmer. I feel like Dawn might be into that world a little bit, too.
Eventually, it'll get there.
Eventually.
Right. In the studio with us this morning, we have Dawn Stevens from Perkins Observatory with Ohio Wesleyan University. And Dawn, I bet you're really enjoying the super cold because I bet it really brightens the night sky for you.
Well, a lot of people think that, but in reality, there just happens to be more bright stars in the wintertime sky that makes the sky seem more clear.
That
Really?
is a fun tidbit that
love
we are
that.
going to talk about more about in the second half of the show.
I learn so much when I am around Dawn.
Yes.
So.
So Dawn is going to be talking about a program called Learn About the Night Sky with an astrophysicist, which is coming up on Monday, February 3rd at 5:15 at our Liberty Branch Library. We're going to give more teases about that the second half of the show, but as usual, we're going to talk about books.
Books.
Molly, have you read anything good lately?
I have. I'm coming in hot with a nonfiction this morning. I just saw the front of this book. I do judge books by their covers. Just going to say there's
It's
nothing
okay.
wrong with it. And this one was called Women in White Coats. And as we all know, I'm a huge fan of Outlander. And this is how, one of the ways women started breaking into the medical industry, officially becoming doctors. The title officially is Women in White Coats, How the First Women Doctors Changed the World of Medicine by Olivia Campbell. Now, this is not to negate the fact that women have always been doing medicine. Women have taken care of their families. They knew the roots, the herbs, all of that. But we didn't get the fancy white coats until somewhere in the 1800s.
That's too bad.
It is too bad because it also meant it wasn't until the 1800s that women really were getting proper medical care.
Right.
This is I would say, a beginner book for those who are interested in seeing how women made it into this industry. Some of their challenges and sometimes the surprise I had where they were really welcomed into some areas. This really follows sort of three of the Victorian women who broke down those barriers. It was Elizabeth Blackwell, Elizabeth Garrett Anderson, and Sophia Jex Blake. And it followed those three stories through their attempts to get into medical school. The struggles they would hit when it was obscene for women to see autopsied bodies, and they were like, "But it's not. I'm a doctor."
Right.
And those who jumped out to support them, and then the perception of what we can and cannot do as women. Once again, I forget that sometimes I just could faint for no reason. No reason at all. And that I wouldn't be a part of polite society if I dealt with medicine. So it just was a nice read, a reminder of how far we've come as women. But also just get to the doctor, people. Get to the doctor now. We have no excuses. If you want one, I've got an amazing female doctor here in Delaware. So get out there, find who you need, who makes you comfortable, and go get medical help when you need it.
It's true. You know what? It's always, I think that we underestimate our gut, if you will.
Yes.
And if something's telling you that something's off, trust it and go ahead and follow that. It could be odd, but, what do you think about this? It might be more than what you think.
And, this book is both the gut of your health and the gut of somebody told me I can't do that thing, and I'm going to do that thing.
That's right.
Go out there and do that thing. It'll change the world.
So that's Women in White Coats. Who's the author?
The author of that one is Olivia. And of course, I just started adding it to my Goodreads. Olivia Campbell.
Oh.
And my favorite is she actually reviewed the book, and she wrote for her review.
She reviewed her own
Oh my
book.
God, it was darling. She gave it a 5-star. I think I wrote a good book.
That's
so
very
she
nice.
totally owned it.
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen, and I thought was absolutely a darling review.
That's very cute. I have learned that when we've interviewed authors, either on this show and podcast or in the library, that they pay attention to the reviews that people give them.
Which
on
is
Goodreads.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying, too, because I'm like, all right, well, I'm never going to review books ever again.
No. Well, I used to review a lot of picture books, and I'd get some odd ones like Readers that a lot of people don't review. And the author started responding back to me.
Oh, no.
And they mainly were all really good reviews. I'm a pretty nice reviewer.
Right.
But I hit a point where I'm like, oh, I'm not doing this for them. I'm not doing it for you all.
Right.
Stop.
Right,
Stop.
right. Right. Well, Dawn, have you read anything good recently or anything that you want to tell our listeners about?
Well, I'll start with a couple of classics I've read before. If you have an interest in the night sky in general and learning about the night sky, there is a book. Let me find out who the author is. But it's called Turn Left at Orion. And it lays out the night sky by seasons, and it has constellations and objects that you can observe in your own backyard with a small telescope or even a simple pair of binoculars. The author of that is...
We can find it in our show notes, too.
Guy Consolmagno and Don Davis. It's not currently in print, but you can find used copies of it on Amazon. Believe it or not, astronomy is a pretty broad-ranging subject and touches on a lot of different things, including climate and climate change that we're going through right now. And, if what's going on in California sparks your interest in climate science and things like that, I recommend 3 books by same author, Michael Mann. There's the book called The Hockey Stick and the Climate Wars, which was one of his first books. And then he followed up with The New Climate Wars. And more recently, his latest book, one of his latest books called Our Fragile Moment, How Lessons from Earth's Climate Past Can Help Us Survive. So a little bit more optimistic take on possibility of dealing with climate change and things like that.
Those sound really intriguing.
Yeah.
I love hearing that there's the intersectionality of so many different things, climate, the sky, it's all Earth, it's all the world, it's all, this.
It all blends together.
This crazy thing that we live in.
Yes.
Right.
And our health goes right into all that too.
Our health does too. And I'll tie mine in too. This will be like our new fun challenge. How can we tie all of our books together? In a
now I'm really
way.
curious if this is like a natural tie-in or we're really going to go for it.
what kind of stretch is Nicole going for this morning?
I'm game.
The book that I read this week is a children's book. It is a picture book. It's a very cute story, and it's called Millie Fleur's Poison Garden. So it is. It's tying in, maybe some of the health benefits that come from plants.
Don't eat poisonous plants.
maybe some of the different things that grow in our world. But Millie Fleur's Poison Garden is written by Christie Mandin, and it's a story about Millie Fleur LaFay. She's moved into a new house in a town that seems just too picture perfect. Every house looks exactly the same. It's the little boxes on a hillside kind of thing that she moves into. And Millie Fleur, she has Wednesday Addams vibes about her. She likes things a little bit darker. She likes things a little bit stranger. And she just doesn't feel quite at home in her new house yet. So her mom brings out the packs of seeds that she planted at her old house, and then she, gathered and then stored to get ready to plant at her new house. And she goes ahead and she creates her garden. And the garden has all sorts of wonderful things in it, like, ghost nettles and grouchy, it's just all of these little things. They're not real, of course, but they're in this book, they're very real and they're very cute, and they have all sorts of little fun personalities. But some people in the neighborhood don't like it, especially the people who have the Picture Perfect Rosebud Club. And Picture Perfect Rosebud Club and their very plain house coats and their too overly starched dresses come and tell Millie that she's ruining the neighborhood with her odd, eccentric plants that she's bringing about. They put signs in her yard. This is an abomination. And no strange plants welcome. And but Millie, she's still proud of what she's put together. And so she brings it to school, and she does show and tell with her strange plants. And she goes ahead and decides that she's going to invite her friends from her class to see her poisonous garden. And all of her friends cannot believe what they've seen. They think it's the neatest thing, and they wonder if they could have some clippings of their own, too. And so soon, the poison garden makes its way throughout town. And then 1 year later, everyone has a nice poison garden exchange. And the poison garden begins to grow. And the picture-perfect little boxes on a hillside neighborhood now becomes a little bit more unique, a truly one-of-a-kind town. So it's a very, very sweet picture book. I got to check out the picture book and read it with my daughter. And then the list for the Audie's finalists was revealed this week. And this is a finalist in the Young Reader category. So I got to download the audiobook as well, and we got to listen along with it. There's a fun part at the end where Christie Mandin talks about some of the things that could be fun in an actual poison garden. She talks about things, just kind of plants that have a little bit more personality than others. Spider plants, snapdragons. Tells a fun story about when snapdragons' leaves fall off. The inner core that holds the seeds kind of looks like a skull, so that has a fun little piece of it too. And then talks about an actual poison garden that inspired this book. That is over in the UK.
So will you be having a poison garden with your daughters this summer?
We might. I do love snapdragons. So,
they're beautiful.
Yeah, I would not be happy. I would not be sad about having snapdragons or spider plants.
I would love to have some plants, but I have killed the ones everybody says are unkillable.
Right.
So for the environment, I'll stop killing plants.
The environment appreciates that. It also appreciates your attempt, though.
I do try.
Yes. Any green helps the tree canopy and helps all of the good things that come with that. So that's Millie Fleur's Poison Garden. I highly recommend it. And next week, we'll see what else I come back with in the probably young reader category as well. So with that, we will take a break. Stay tuned, though, because on the other half, we are going to be talking with Don Stevens about all the things you can learn about in the night sky. You know what? We're gonna continue to make it. We are I don't know what, a third of the way through winter.
Okay.
Is it a third? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm listening for reassurance.
Well, the winter solstice isn't technically until like December 20th. So,
No.
Yeah. So I think we're we've made it about a third of the way through winter.
I'm still in my mantra. It's killing the bugs and it's going to help the farmers. It's
Yes.
killing the bugs and it's going to help the farmers.
Yeah. That was a good mantra for the 5 days of like sub-zero temperatures.
I just kept saying it.
Well, I know someone else who is in the studio with us today who maybe has good feelings about all of this weather that we're having. Maybe it helps open up the night sky a little bit. We have Don Stevens from Perkins Observatory, a real live astrophysicist. Do you just love having that title attached to your name?
For me, it's just all about understanding the universe, life, the universe, everything kind of deal.
Just the universe.
Just the universe.
Yeah, I basically tell people I study everything above the clouds.
I love it.
And I literally study the stars as well. So
that's right.
It basically goes to, and what I hope to accomplish with the program at the library, we'll talk about here in a little bit, is encouraging people just to, it's kind of stop and smell the roses kind of thing. In this case, stop and look up.
That's right.
And the reason to do that is it touches on several kind of core things about being a human in general, our curiosity, our sense of wonder, our sense of awe. And by, studying what's out there, we learn more about what's in here, what's inside of us.
Yeah. Look at that. You're a poet as well as an astrophysicist. You're going to be at the Liberty Branch Library in a little over a week, Monday, February 3rd. That program is at 5:15. And you're going to take us on a journey through the universe, learning about some of the constellations found in the winter sky. This program is specifically geared for kids ages 7 through 12, but I'm sure anyone who tags along will learn a thing or two. What sorts of things should we be looking for this winter?
The big thing on a lot of people's minds right now is the alignment of the planets. Although planets pretty much are always in a line, they follow a line called the ecliptic across the sky. It's the path the planets and the sun apparently follow in our sky, because all the planets orbit in the same plane around the sun like we do. And in the evening, you'll see very bright Venus over in the southwest. and then Saturn nearby, not as bright. And then as you go towards the east, you'll see Jupiter, and followed by Mars, and occasionally they're joined by the moon when the moon is in the evening sky. So this is not earth-shattering or anything of that nature. It's not, not going to cause the world to topple or explode or anything like that. So
that's relief. That's a relief.
Yeah, these occur all the time in the 4.5 billion year history of our solar system. So nothing to worry about.
Well, speaking of earth-shattering things, we've had some pretty amazing reasons to look up in the past
yes.
year.
Yeah.
I mean, from the auroras that have made their way to be visible in Ohio, the eclipse.
Still breathtaking that I was able to walk out my own backyard and get pictures of the sky in rainbows.
Right.
Like, how's that even happen?
So
we have someone who knows how to answer this.
Right. How has the year been for you, Don? What have we learned from some of these things?
Well, I mean, it's been pretty amazing. We've been fortunate here in Ohio this last year. A lot of different things, including, we've had a couple of good comets as well.
Right.
And, decent meteor shower. And so what it basically means is that people should be getting out more and looking up and seeing these wonderful things in the sky. And we encourage folks to do that on their own. You don't need a telescope the size of a corn silo to do astronomy. Simple pair of binoculars or binoculars you were born with are good enough. You can also come to one of our Friday night programs. Those will be starting up this next Friday on the 31st. Those start at 8 p.m. Tickets are $10 per person. And just give us a call and arrange for those tickets. I got plenty of tickets for the next upcoming dates, so do give us a call.
Who can come to? So this is at the Perkins Observatory, which is affiliated with Ohio Wesleyan University.
Yes.
You can get to it from 23, right?
Yep.
Right there, kind of by the golf course.
We're surrounded by the golf course.
Yeah. Who can come to those Friday night programs?
They're open to everybody.
Oh, any age?
Yep, any age. Is fine. There's a family-oriented program, and the programs typically run about an hour and a half, 2 hours, 4 or 5 if I really get going. Do dress appropriately for the weather as well, because some of it is outside or in outdoor type conditions, even up in the dome. So do prepare for that.
And they have to start when the sky is dark. Does that mean they can start earlier during the winter, or do you always start about the same time?
We typically try to keep it just to make the schedule less complex around 8 p.m., although in the summertime, because of the later sunsets, we do switch to 9 p.m. And then we do take a brief hiatus in the summertime. But we do some type of daytime program called Celebration of the Sun in July. The last 2 Saturdays in July. It's a program about the sun. So if you want to come understand and observe our day star, the sun, that's a good time to come as well. People think, what, crazy? Why would I go to the observatory in the daytime? Well, it's because there's still stuff to see. We can still do some astronomy. And talk about what the sun is, how it works, and even touch a little bit on climate science, how the sun affects climate and things of that nature. Have something for everybody.
I'm going to have to add that to my calendar. I feel like I've spent more time with the night skies than I have the day.
Yeah,
all right.
The fun thing I do is do a rocket launch demo for the kids, because rockets are very important for astronomy as well.
And rockets are cool.
Yeah, some of the places are close enough we can actually go there. So
yeah.
So, okay, I'm gonna throw some of the, maybe you can do some myth busting this morning. When it's a full moon, are people actually crazier, and why?
This has been thoroughly studied, believe it or not.
I believe it. I believe it.
What it comes down to kind of a positive reinforcement of bias effect, a selection effect, to where things are going crazy and people will just happen to look up and the moon's full. It must be because of that. And that gets kind of positively reinforced, but they've shown that there's no change throughout the year and throughout the month in regards to emergency room visits and stuff like that.
Really? So
You
it's just
are
a bias
busting my
It's a confirmation bias.
Oh, no.
That is totally busting one of my beliefs.
See, my
that was a good
father
one.
worked in a hospital for many years, and he was always full moon. It's always heavier.
I used to say
Maybe
that at the
that's just in,
library.
Canton.
I would leave and be like, that was a crazy night. Yep, that's why, but I probably never looked up on crazy nights and went, that's why, when it wasn't.
When it wasn't, exactly.
Yeah, there's also typically, it's not always on the full moon night. People look up and it'll look almost full, and they'll still call it a full moon. So.
Right.
Now, you've taught me a lot, too, about light pollution. And with some of the problems, my favorite thing is going to West Virginia to look at the stars because there are just so many more, which always confuse me. But it's difficult. What does light pollution do to affect our view of the stars?
Well, first, what light pollution is basically light that scatters up into the atmosphere. And the primary source of it is unshielded light sources. Although you do get some, from reflecting surfaces and such, but the vast majority it comes up from just lights that just scatter in all directions. And if you think about it, it's kind of crazy we light things that way because typically you want to see like where you're going. So you should have the ground lighted and things like that. That's fine. And see where you're driving and stuff like that. But you don't need the sky lit up as well. So, a simple thing would be just to switch over to fully shielded lighting, which a lot of communities are starting to do, and using lower wattage light as well. Therefore, you can use lower amounts of light and lower the general light pollution level that way.
So not only do you save money, you make it easier to see the stars.
Exactly right.
I love that.
Okay, let's go to another myth. Will the full moon turn me into a werewolf? No, I don't think that's legit.
Absolutely. Again, I believe this one.
Well, we were just talking about Bigfoot, so.
Yes, which is also real. I know there's a guy in West Virginia. He told me all about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, what are some other things? Constellations. You mentioned even in the book that you were talking about earlier, Turn Left at Orion. There are some of those really typical constellations that you learn as a kid. Are there constellations that can be easily seen this time of year?
This time of year, of course, there's Orion. That's readily visible. It's one of the brighter constellations up there, famous for the 3 stars that are almost equal brightness form as Belt. And there's actually an object there you can see in binoculars called the Orion Nebula. It's a place where stars are currently being born.
Really?
Nice.
So you can see that even from relatively light polluted suburban skies if you know exactly where to look. And there's also Cassiopeia, which is kind of a W or M-shaped constellation, depending on which way you're looking at it, that has some nice star clusters nearby that are visible in binoculars. And then there's always, of course, the planets to check out.
That's gonna be a good time. So this program coming up again. This is Dawn Stevens with Perkins Observatory from Ohio Wesleyan University. The program is on Monday, February 3rd. 5:15 p.m. at the Liberty Branch Library. Learn about the night sky with an astrophysicist. You do not need to register for that program. It's great for ages 7 through 12, but of course, if a family member or two happen to tag along, I'm sure we can accommodate you because we're going to be in the community room down there. That has a nice big open capacity.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning, Dawn.
My pleasure.
There's going to be so much more that I'm sure folks are going to learn on Monday, February 3rd. But let's talk about some of the other things happening at the library.
We got some things going on right now.
Yeah, what are they?
I'm especially excited right now about a program in our Delaware Maker Studio coming up. We do have spaces still available on Wednesday, January 29th from 1 to 2. They're going to do custom-made calendars.
Yes.
And if you've ever known me, I love to make a custom calendar. So that's going to be really exciting. You can make it just what you need, make it work for you.
Come with your pictures.
With your pictures.
And then you'll be able to put them together into a little template, and you'll use our comb bookbinder to put that all together.
Which the comb bookbinder, that's just a cool tool as a whole.
Really neat, yeah.
If you didn't realize, we have that in our Maker Studios.
We've got quite a few good things in our Maker Studios.
We do have quite a few things. Of course, we have story times. Every now and again, I think it's good to give a shout out to the many, many story times we have going on at all of our branches all the time. Bring your kids. Have a great time. You're going to learn a little bit about early literacy. If you were like my sister was when she had her first child, they're going to help you remember maybe some nursery rhymes that you can sing with your child. You don't need to call your sister at 3 a.m.
Oh, yes. That's very nice.
Which even a children's librarian had a little trouble at 3 a.m. remembering all the words.
Well, and if you want like a nice introduction to story time, let's say you've never done one before, you're not quite sure what to experience. Monday, January 27th at 10 a.m. From 10 to noon is a drop-in playtime at our Orange Branch Library. And so that's just, come in anytime between 10 and noon. We'll have some of those toys out that you could play with at a story time anyway. A lot of the same story time families will be there, so you'll get to know some familiar faces. It'll be a really nice way to just kind of come get the kids out of the house, especially during this cold where I'm sure many of you have been cooped up anyway.
And, following along with Cooped Up, our Delaware Main Library has an exciting program coming up on Thursday, January 30th, 5:30 to 6:30, called Splat, Splatter, and Paint.
Yeah, it's going to get messy.
It's going to get messy. Wear old clothes because you will leave with some paint on.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So they're suggesting an old T-shirt. This is an extra shout out. Do not forget the old T-shirt, but no experience is required for this one.
Exactly.
Come in, have some fun, enjoy paint, colors, and all of that wonderfulness.
Yeah, and we'll give a final call to our friends, another friend at Ohio Wesleyan University, in the Office of Enrollment. We're going to retry our Learn About Going to OWU tuition free with the Delaware Promise program. That was scheduled earlier this month. We had a snow day that day and had to cancel. We talked to Adam on the show, so go back and listen to that show. But you'll have another chance to hear from him on Thursday, January 30th at 6 o'clock.
And this is a way you can go to school for free. So make sure get in there, learn about this program.
Yep. Well, thank you, Don, for being our guest this morning.
Thank you
I can't
very
wait
much.
for people to learn more about the night sky with you in a little over a week. Molly, thanks for being our co-host once again.
I'm always happy to be here.
Mark, thanks for driving the board.
Stay warm.
And next week I'm going to be back more caffeinated and more healthy. So we'll see you soon. See you in the stacks.